I'm very excited for this fight. Caio Borralho versus Nassourdine Imavov is taking place later this week. Is it? Wait, no, it's not this week. It might be next week. What day is it today? Shit, I was wrong. So it's taking place next week on Saturday. Um, and I'm definitely excited, man. Not only because it's just a good matchup between, not the, I mean, Nassourdine Imavov is probably the number one contender, obviously minus Dricus. Caio isn't, and like a top, he kind of is, but he's not like a Imavov could have already got a title shot, and it wouldn't have been ridiculous. Whereas Caio, it would have been ridiculous if they'd given Borralho a title shot right now, if you know what I mean. But not only because it's between two great contenders, and it's very interesting, could go either way, but also because I can see, I mean, I'm. Here's what I think about Caio, man. He's kind of annoying with his social media stuff, and his fans are also kind of annoying because it's just like the whole Fighting Nerds fans in general. I like the Fighting Nerds, but they have a very annoying fan base, and I feel like a lot of them might get silenced in this fight. This could age badly for me though. But yeah, let me just get into the breakdown here. Now, starting off with just their styles, I've got here. This is what I think about Caio. He used to be a grappler, and I'll show you like that in a bit. But since kind of recently, since I would say the Abus fight, he's fallen in love with the hands more. That's what he does. He's more of a striker. I think it's because of the Fighting Nerds, because all the other Fighting Nerds are strikers primarily, right? Um, while Caio wasn't, I think it might have been for him at least to just like keep up with the excitement of the others. Because I'm gonna be real, he's the least exciting out of all the Fighting Nerds. Just objectively, he is. And I think he might have changed his style because of that. Imavov, he's always had a similar style. He's improved a lot. He's a kickboxer. Can mix in the wrestling. We saw that against Izzy. He has good defensive wrestling too. But in terms of kickboxing, he's a boxing heavy kickboxer, right? He does use kicks, but he'll use them to set up his hands, which are very good. He's very accurate. That's why they call him the sniper. I would say that's accurate. I mean, the Izzy knockout was very good. Like how precise that right hand was, I really liked it. Anyways, moving on. I've just put on their kind of level of competition, and this is the first place where I think Imavov definitely has the advantage. If you look at Caio's record, it's not even who he's beating, although it is. It's also just like how, like unanimous decision here. Unanimous decision, right? A submission over Mikhail Alexeychuk, who is pretty mid. I know he's coming off some wins over like two bums. I mean, he's beat Cedrico Dumas in GM3, which is like, who cares, right? Decision, and then KO's Paul Craig, but like, who doesn't, And then a decision over Cannonier. Cannonier is objectively his best win, right? And then I look here and it's like, Imavov firstly has improved a lot since he left the MMA factory in France, as most fighters do when they leave that gym. And he's improved a lot since these fights. Like any of these fights, he's improved. But if you look at the level of competition he's fought, Sean Strickland in a 5-rounder, and this was like a couple fights. I think Sean beat Imavov, and then he beat Abus, and then he got the title shot. So this wasn't long before Sean won the belt. A fight with Chris Curtis that was a no contest, I think, because of a headbutt, a head clash, but Imavov was winning the fight. A fight against Delidze, who's a very tricky opponent for like everyone he fights except Anthony Hernandez, who's just that guy. Cannonier, to say a better version of an earlier, younger version of Cannonier who had taken less damage than Borralho fought. Brendan Allen, who's very underrated, and Izzy obviously, right? And the thing is with Caio Borralho, it feels like, so the Fighting Nerds started getting hype around, I would say, when Prates knocked out Li Jingliang, because at that point in time, I think Gene Silver was maybe 1 or 2-0 in the UFC. Ruffy was, I think, 1-0. I think he'd beat Jamie Malaki, but then Caio Borralho had all these fights up to like here, and I feel like I might be wrong with these timings, but I feel like when I'm not. I'm pretty sure this was after 305, which is when Prates knocked out Jing Liang, right? Caio Borralho kind of got this jump up in the rankings from like Paul Craig, who was outside the top 10, all the way to Cannonier, who at the time was, I think, number 6 or 7. Um, Whereas Imavov kind of worked his way up pretty slowly. If you look at his opponents here, this was a slower rise to the top, right? Um, and I feel like, yeah, Caio kind of rode off the Fighting Nerds hype a little bit. He is good. He might be the best Fighting Nerd I know, but he's not the most entertaining out of them. And that's just what I have to say about their levels of competition. I know Imavov's had tricky fights, but these are all good fighters, and he's definitely improved from especially these three. And the Izzy fight showed a lot of improvement for me in his style. I feel like, I mean, you have to be a different fighter if you're going from majority decision against the Lidsey to knocking out Izzy, you know? Moving on, I gotta talk about the grappling, man, because there are people who are saying shit like, oh, Caio by sub, you know? Because he used to be a grappler, he was, but in his last 3 fights, he hasn't. Like, he shot, as we can see here, he shot a takedown against Abus, didn't get it. I'm pretty sure this was fence control, like against the fence. And he beat Abus by decision, and that's just something I want to talk about here, where it's like, you're outlanding him by 4 strikes here, 1 strike here, 8 strikes here, and it's like, bro, Sean Strickland finished this guy. I know, like, Strickland has finishes, but, like, he's not a finisher, you know? And Sean Strickland finished Abus. Abus Magomedov is not that good. That's just something I want to say. I know he could have improved since then, but it's just interesting to me. How you were pretty competitive with Abus Magomedov. I mean, look at that. The difference in strikes is not that insane, really. But yeah, so he didn't grapple here. Here, doesn't grapple at all. That is what you should do against Paul Craig. I mean, what you want to do is just keep it on the feet, because all he has is a body kick, and just beat him up there. And then Cannonier versus Borralho. Shot 1 takedown. It was pretty non-committal. I think, once again, I think this was either fence control or a knockdown. I think this was from the knockdown. And this was mostly a striking fight. Moving on to the grappling of Nassourdine Imavov, man. I feel like, and I'll get onto this side of the screen in a second, the right side. The Brendan Allen fight is an interesting one to me because of the narratives that people spin. Because if you listen to the stuff that people say about the Brendan Allen fight, they will act like Imavov got ragdolled by Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen got a single takedown, right? Difference in control time, what's that, 19 seconds? So nothing crazy, right? He won the first round based on the takedown in that round. And Brendan Allen is very good, man. I just want to, like, Brendan Allen did just clearly beat Vettori, who's okay. I mean, Vittori's kind of mid. Brendan Allen clearly beat him. He just kind of did what you should do to Vettori, just clearly beat him by a decision. And he also recently had a pretty competitive fight with Fluffy. It was 2-1 Fluffy, but Fluffy lost the first, and it was competitive in the second. Fluffy did have a broken rib, but it's still impressive. Like, I think Anthony Hernandez is the toughest matchup for Hamzat, and is like one of the most just one of the best fighters in the division, right? So Brendan Allen is very good. He's a very good grappler, pretty crafty. Look how many takedowns he got stuffed, right? And then if you look past the first round, where Fluffy got a lot, not Fluffy, sorry, Brendan Allen got a lot of control, which is why the strikes are so low. And Imavov is clearly outstriking him in these rounds by a pretty significant gap in the strikes. Won the fight clearly. I also, as I said, I think there's just such these. I know these fights are only 1 fight apart, but like there's a clear like improvement here. And I know so you might be wondering why I've circled failed takedowns here. It's something that Imavov does that I think can work against even a guy with grappling like Caio. And he will shoot a takedown just to get you thinking about the takedown, so he can land a big overhand like this. Look right here. Shoots a takedown on Izzy in the first round. In the second round, you can see, just watch this sequence. He's feinting low before he throws this right hand, right? Izzy's hands are right down because Imavov has dipped low. Izzy probably thinks this is about to happen. Boom. Right over the top with the right hand. Knocks Izzy out. That's what I think about the grappling of Imavov. He's a very good defensive grappler. pretty good jiu-jitsu when it comes to like reversals and stuff, and he is willing to use the threat of the takedown to get you thinking about that so he can crack you over the top. Now I got to talk about the striking, man. The right side of the screen is what I want to talk about first, because I know I just showed you like this with Imavov coming right over the top with the right hand, which gets Izzy's guard down. Caio's guard is already kind of down, because look here, this top image is the stance that Caio Borralho has, like, idly. Like, he always has this stance. It's kind of a karate stance. He's southpaw, which kind of leaves him open to a right hand too. It's this karate stance, and that's what it reminds me of. At least he's got a bit of a bounce to him. His hands are usually quite here by his chest, which I think, especially with a takedown threat from Imavov, can lead him to getting clipped over the top. And right here, during finishing sequences, this guy's on Paul Craig. I know it's Paul Craig, but still, this guy's running forwards like me in the fucking bouncy house when I was 8, scrapping like some random kid, running forwards with his hands down, right? And like he knocks out Paul Craig in the sequence. Bro, Imavov can throw back if he's rocked. I don't even know if he will get rocked in this fight. You know, he'll get touched up, like he'll get hit with some shots, but he's not gonna pause. He's not gonna I don't think he's gonna get cracked badly, right? You can't throw like this. Like, Imavov is a very good counter striker. It sounds like I'm glazing, but like it's just kind of true. And then I want you lot to look at the Cannonier fight here. Close, man. It wasn't a close fight. It was clear win for Caio based on hurting Cannonier and having clear rounds that he won. But like Jared Cannonier, like they were 3 strikes apart here. Outstrikes him in the second. Caio's clearly won this round. Like, but Cannonier landing big shots within rounds. You know, being able to win 2 rounds of this fight. I thought at least he did. Obviously, 2 judges here thought Caio won at all but 1 round. I'm guessing they agreed that Cannonier won the second. I thought could have been 48. You know, I think 46. I think that's honestly a fair scorecard if you want to like give the 5th round a 10-8, which you could. It was competitive, man. And the version of Cannonier that Borralho fought is good. I think the version of Cannonier that Imavov fought is better, and I'll talk about that fight in a second because I know it's quite controversial. Yeah, so it was pretty close, and this is Cannonier's best win. Not Cannonier, this is Borralho's best win. I'm not gonna like shit on him for it. I'm just saying, like, you have to think about that. It wasn't dominant, right? There's a lot of narratives. Anyway, the striking of Imavov, or just in general, the fighting, right? The Cannonier fight, I have to talk about this, right? So, firstly, getting 2 takedowns on Cannonier is pretty impressive because Jared Cannonier has very good takedown defense. If you watch his fights, he has very good takedown defense. Getting 2 takedowns on him is impressive. Imavov can use the wrestling control here. A lot of this was against the fence for Jared Cannonier, just being able to push her, you know, in the clinch, push Nassourdine Imavov against the fence, and he did win the first round. As you can see here, there's quite a big difference in strikes in the second. Not a massive one in the third. This was a very competitive round. Imavov he did lose the first. It was competitive until the 4th, right? But he was pulling ahead, I would say. It was a very early stoppage. It was too early. It shouldn't have been stopped. I know this. He did wobble Cannonier badly in that round. And I think if it had gone to the 5th, he would have either finished him. I don't think he would have finished him in that exchange, but I think if it had gone to the 5th, fuck, I just spoiled the whole thing. Never mind, lads. You guys know what I'm gonna pick anyway, right? I've been gassing this guy out the whole video, right? If it had gone to the 5th, I think he would have won either by decision, probably like 3-2 or 4-1, or he would have won, or he could have finished him then, right? And then we see this fight against Izzy with a lot of improvements. He did clearly lose the first round, don't get me wrong. He clipped Izzy at one moment with, I think, a left hook. And that was a good shot. But I think Izzy, you know, he landed quite a few kicks in that round. I think he landed some good jabs too, from off the top of my head. So he outstruck him, right? But that's patience, man. Like, it's not like he was getting beaten up, you know. It's kind of like Ilya versus Volk. Volk won the first round against Ilya, but Ilya was just there. He's still in the fight, occasionally landing, and just waiting for the right shot to land. And then it lands, you know? Um, and also I rate Izzy a lot higher than Caio Borralho, like just in terms of striking. People say he's out of his prime, but like not really, you know. I I don't see. I mean, I think Imavov was just a very tricky style for Izzy, and maybe Izzy slightly past it, but he looked great in that fight. He looked better, like he looked faster than Caio Borralho has looked ever, and he's a good counter striker. Izzy is with good range. Um, so I'm gonna go with. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna go with Imavov, man. I think he can set up the takedown threat. I think he's quite a bit better on the feet. He's got the 5 round experience against high levels of competition, especially the Strickland fight, which I know Strickland took the fight in very short notice, like 4 days. But he also had a gas tank advantage because he didn't really have to cut weight for that fight, or maybe he only had to cut down to 200. So, um, Imavov was gone 5 rounds with guys with better cardio than him. 4 rounds against Cannonier, decision with the. He's done this before, and I know Braulio has been to a decision with Cannonier 5 rounds, and he looked good. But Imavov has that experience. That's not why I'm picking him. I'm picking him because of what I said with the grappling and the striking. I think he's open. I think Braulio is open on the feet. Imavov can capitalise on that, and he can set up the takedowns. I'm pretty confident with this one. Yeah, in a bit, lads.